Last Friday, Fox News reported this. It really didn't go anywhere in the entire news cycle, but it is amazing nonetheless. The Biden administration ran afoul of the First Amendment by trying to pressure social media platforms over controversial COVID-19 content. This from the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans. This happened on Friday afternoon. The 75-page ruling, the appeals court panel made up of 2 George W. Bush nominees and 1 Trump nominee, said that President Biden, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the FBI and Surgeon General cannot coerce social media platforms to remove content it deems problematic. However, in the ruling, court threw out language from a Louisiana judge in July who had ruled the government could not contact social media platforms to urge them to take content down. Under the new ruling, the administration now has 10 days to seek a Supreme Court review. Out of Newsmax this morning, Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican from Wisconsin, told Newsmax over the weekend a full investigation of Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings should include scrutiny of former President Barack Obama because he was, quote, fully aware of a lot of this, unquote. The quote continued, I know individuals in the Obama State Department that were fully well aware of Hunter Biden's alleged influence peddling. This was Senator Johnson during an appearance on Newsmax's America's Right Now. After acknowledging in June the existence of 5,400 emails and electronic records associated with then Vice President Joe Biden's use of an alias mail account or several, the National Archives and Records Administration missed the August 31st deadline to turn over those documents to the House Oversight Committee, which is conducting the Hunter Biden probe. Last week, NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, said it sent a tranche of documents over to the Biden White House and former President Barack Obama, requesting permission to release those records to the House Oversight Committee. USA Today is reporting that Kia, Volkswagen, Subaru, and Audi are involved in recalls of some 208,000 vehicles all told. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration issued multiple recalls last week, including nearly 145,000 Kia SUVs for rearview mirror issues. A rearview camera that does not properly display images can increase the risk of a crash. This according to an NHTSA report. Kia is recalling 144,979 of its 2022-2023 Sorento Hybrid, and Sorento plug-in hybrid vehicles because mounting clips for the vehicle's rearview mirror can break, which can cause the image not to appear properly. Subaru is calling 8,915 of its 2022 Subaru BRZ and Toyota GR86 sports cars because the rear turn signals may intermittently become inoperative. Volkswagen also issued a recall for more than 47,000 Jetta compact cars for an ignition switch issue. Porsche and Audi are recalling 6,676 of their vehicles. The high-voltage battery may have an insufficient amount of sealant, which can cause liquid to accumulate in the battery, increasing the risk of a fire. Car owners can check USA Today's automotive recall database or search the NHTSA's database for all new recalls that may involve your vehicle. International news out of Morocco. This from Reuters. Rescuers are racing against time today to find survivors in the rubble more than 48 hours after Morocco's deadliest earthquake in over 6 decades, with nearly 2,500 killed in a disaster that devastated villages in the high Atlas Mountains. Search teams from Spain, Britain, Qatar were joining efforts to find survivors of the 6.8 magnitude quake that struck late Friday night, 45 miles southwest of Marrakesh. Many survivors spent a third night outside, their homes destroyed or rendered unsafe. The death toll has climbed to 2,497, with 2,476 people injured. This according to the state news agency reporting today. A magnitude 3.9 aftershock rocked Morocco yesterday, rattling rescue workers and residents whose homes withstood the Friday's magnitude 6.8 temblor that killed more than 2,000 people and turned ancient towns into rubble. The G20, they got together. The leaders failed to condemn Russia for the Ukraine war. This from USA Today. President Joe Biden failed at a weekend summit in India to unite world leaders around a condemnation of Russia's war in Ukraine. This drew a rebuke from Kiev and put him on the defensive as he wrapped up his trip abroad. Neither Russian President Vladimir Putin nor Chinese President Xi Jinping attended the New Delhi gathering for leaders of the world's most powerful economies. But even in their absence, Russia and China notched a win against the U.S. when it came to rallying the international community against the war that began more than a year and a half ago. 20 nations, the group of 20 nations, declined to explicitly chide Russia for the invasion, saying instead, countries must refrain from the threat or use of force to seek territorial acquisition, and lamented the human suffering and negative aspects that impacts the war. Out of state news today in Pennsylvania, the USA Today reports the manhunt for Danilo Cavalcante intensified yesterday. Authorities in Pennsylvania announced the escaped killer had been seen hours earlier, changed his appearance, and was driving a stolen van that was later found abandoned. Cavalcante fled a suburban Philadelphia prison. This on August 31st. It triggered a massive search that resulted in several sightings. The most recent sightings were in Phoenixville, more than 20 miles northeast of the Longwood Gardens Botanical Park, where a perimeter had been set up that apparently failed to contain Cavalcante. No perimeter is 100% secure ever, said State Police Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens at a Sunday news conference. I'm not going to make an excuse. I wish it had not happened. Out of Illinois, this from Fox News, a group of communist revolutionaries burned multiple American flags outside a Jason Aldean concert in Chicago, this on Saturday night, according to videos of the incident. The protesters were raising awareness of RevCom, the Revolutionary Communist Party, which believes in creating a Marxist revolution in America, citing the USA as the belly of the beast. The RevCom activists burned American flags before police declared an unlawful assembly and said their activism alarmed and disturbed others, this according to News to Share, who captured the videos. The Revolutionary Communist Party has taken on the responsibility to lead a revolution in the U.S., the belly of the imperialist beast, as its principal share of the world revolution and the ultimate aim of communism, said RevCom's website. The group's manifesto praises Mao Zedong for what it believes was his use of the scientific method and aspects of the Cultural Revolution. Out of Virginia, Fox News reports that Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin pardoned the Loudoun County father who protested against the sexual assault of his daughter and her public school's attempt to cover up the incident, according to the office of the governor. The pardon is for Scott Smith, who was convicted of disorderly conduct in August of 2021 after he erupted at a school board member meeting over the handling of an investigation into his daughter's attack. I spoke with Mr. Smith on Friday, said the governor. I had the privilege of telling Mr. Smith that I will pardon him, and we did so on Friday. We righted a wrong. He should have never been prosecuted here. This was a dad standing up for his daughter. His daughter had been sexually assaulted in the bathroom of school. No one was doing anything about it. The governor continued, adding the school superintendent has, quote, covered it up. Politics this morning. The vice president of the United States has pushed back on attacks that she is unable to serve as president. This from NBC News. Vice President Kamala Harris yesterday pushed back against GOP attacks on both her ability to serve as commander-in-chief if needed and President Joe Biden's age in the early race for the White House in 2024. In an interview on CBS's Face the Nation, host Margaret Brennan asked Harris to respond to GOP attacks against her ability to serve as president. Quote, they're talking about what you would do as president as being a risk. They're homing in on you. What do you think that is? How do you respond to those attacks? This is not about policy. It's about you. Harris said they feel the need to attack because they're scared we will win based on the merit of the work that Joe Biden and our administration, has done. Citing a poll in the Wall Street Journal showing that 2/3 of Americans say that Biden is too old to run again, Brennan asked Harris whether she is prepared to be the commander-in-chief. She said, yes, if necessary. But Biden is going to be fine, she added. USA Today reports that Nikki Haley is slamming Senator Tommy Tuberville over blocking DOD promotions. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley criticized Senator Tommy Tuberville, the Republican from Alabama, after his month-long blockade on military promotions over a Pentagon abortion policy, calling her fellow Republicans' protest a mistake and accusing him of harming military families. Quote, "We don't need to be using military families as political pawns. That's a mistake. The military members and families, they've sacrificed enough. They don't need to be a pawn in Congress," said Ms. Haley, a military spouse herself, on CNN's State of the Union. Tuberville has single-handedly put a pause over some 300 military nominations and promotions in protest of the Pentagon abortion policy that reimburses service members for out-of-state travel costs to receive abortions. In sports, Novak Djokovic won a U.S. Open men's singles title over the weekend. He's 36 years old. He added another chapter to his greatest ever resume. This yesterday when he beat Daniil Medvedev 6-3, 7-6, 6-3 in the U.S. Open final, marking his 24th Grand Slam victory. By doing so, he stretched his lead over Rafael Nadal to 2 in the all-time race, with Nadal's future uncertain because of injuries that have kept him off the tour since January. Djokovic's 4th U.S. Open title and first since 2018 was a statement that he still very much has the mental and physical edge over younger challengers who have not found a way to make him look past his prime. With this title, Djokovic won 3 majors in a year for the 4th time in his career, his only loss coming to Carlos Alcaraz in 5 sets at Wimbledon. The Cowboys and the Longhorns have won over the weekend. Sports Illustrated reported that the Texas Longhorns dominated Alabama in every phase of the game and rode a strong performance from quarterback Quinn Ewers to a 34-24 upset. It was the kind of win that largely eluded the biggest brand in the sport since its unbeaten 2009 regular season. And college football fans and observers across the country had a lot to say about it. Also, USA Today reports the Dallas Cowboys arrived in MetLife Stadium in New York and let New York, the Giants, beat themselves over and over on a way to a 40-0 victory. By the start of the fourth quarter, with rain in the home team's performance driving the crowd away, Let's Go Cowboys began to fill the stadium. It was the 5th time since 2007 the two teams have played on Week 1 on Sunday Night Football. Dallas has now won 4 of those instances. And that is the front page for Monday, September 11th, 2023.